Hi everyone! Augusto, thanks for joining me from Italy.
Of course, Oshrat, and hello to all our listeners. Today we want to talk about how in R&D the customer is always the center of everything we do. We work extremely closely with them to develop drug substances that will best fit their formulation needs.
That's true, and even prior to working with individual customers, we identify the most likely formulation and focus on its critical parameters, such as sensitivity to bioavailability, manufacturability, stability, and IP. We really work hard to go the extra mile with our APIs to make the formulation process easier for our customers. Can you think of a good example, Augusto?
Yes, actually. We recently worked on a crystalline API with a really small particle size, about 5 microns. We started with micronization trials to obtain the needed PSD, but quickly realized that we needed to take it a step back to the crystallization process. We optimized this process and then went back to micronization. After that, we developed discriminative characterization method to specifically identify an API with adequate morphology and crystallinity. One within the needed size range, that wasn't sticky, that had suitable flow and surface properties to best fit the operational formulation and device-related needs of the formulator. So as you can see, our aim is to offer the customer APIs which will be most suitable for them to formulate based on the dosage form.
This means we offer three things: several crystalline forms, several API grades, and a full package of API characteristics, taking into account the innovator product, IP-related topics, and so on.
An oral solid dosage form includes tablets and capsules, with tablets being the most common, about 1/3 of all prescriptions. In fact, different sources estimate oral solids to be approximately 65% of the market.
Most oral drug products are categorized by the Biopharmaceutics Classification System, the BCS, as part of the innovator's NDA's filing. The objective of the BCS is to predict how the drug will perform live in a human, and it's based on two aspects: how soluble the drug is and how permeable it is.
Right. Our teams take the BCS classification into account when selecting the crystalline form of the API for development. It's really important for us to know the classification because we can have a big impact on solubilities.
Many molecules being approved at the moment have low solubility, BCS class 2 or 4 for example, and this requires special attention. For the selection of the API, either a salt, a solvate, crystalline or amorphous, we need to have API with aqueous solubility across the physiological pH that matches the innovator.
Another more complex case is when there is a high loading of the API within the drug product.
A great example of this is laurotrectinib sulfate capsules. The hard gelatin capsules is high loaded without any other formulation excipients. In such a case, the API attributes will have a major impact on the profile of the drug product, and we need to work closely with the formulator to fine-tune the bulk properties of the API.
High-loading API dose formulations also increase the potential risk of manufacturability and compressibility problems. Compressibility becomes more important as the API is formulated into the tablet.
So you can see, API properties have a major impact on the formulation process and attributes of the drug product. Our teams takes into account all the chemical and physical properties throughout the entire development process, and specially tailor the attributes of the API particles and the bulk properties to ensure that the formulation process is robust.
Next up are APIs for inhalation. Can you explain why these are unique, Oshrat?
Sure, because the final drug product is administered in a device. In many cases, the strength of the API is very low. Examples of this are dry powder inhalers, where the API is formulated mainly with lactose, or metered-dose inhalers, which is formulated mainly with gas as a propellant, and in particular HFA. In those cases, API attributes are of special importance because there are a limited number of components, unlike in other drugs. In addition, the drug needs to reach a specific area in the lung, which heavily depends on the particle size. If the particle size is too big, the drug will not reach the lung. If it's too small, it will be exhaled.
The other challenge is to tailor the API attributes to the specific inhalation device used by the customer. So in essence, all particle and bulk properties must be fully characterized and match the innovator and the specific customer needs. This includes particle morphology, PSD, surface characterization, amorphous traces, flowability, bulk and tap density, chargeability, and mechanical properties.
And robust processes are obviously also needed to make sure that all the API attributes are right for smooth pharmaceutical development.
Now, suspensions.
Suspensions are used either for oral administration, injections, or ophthalmic use, and so on. Developing a suspension requires special attention to the crystalline form of the API, where there are crystalline or amorphous, salt or solvent API molecules. Each has unique solubility profile in aqueous and organic solvents.
Exactly. The challenge here is to develop a generic drug substance that will best match the innovator's API solubility. Particle size as well as surface properties of the API should also be of special focus when developing suspension.
Of course, each type of administration requires special consideration, since the formulation could be oily, aqueous, or made using organic solvents, such as propylene glycol, polyethylene glycol, glycerin. Each type will affect what we are able to offer. But in all these cases, the thermodynamic balance, which will enable stable suspension formulation, requires that surface properties of crystalline or amorphous API will be custom-made and fully characterized.
So what's next for us in Teva API's R&D teams? It's an exciting time right now, as we are seeing the emergence of co-crystal as a valid API alternative.
That's exactly right. We are working hard toward developing a high-variety co-crystal and believe we'll be seeing a lot more of it in the future. So stay tuned!